Going live, and you are live. What is going on, everybody? RogersBase here. Hello and welcome to my live reaction to One Piece manga chapter 1188. I'm already excited about this one because I see from the front page we get a giant beautiful color spread. We've got Nami there hugging a sea turtle with Sanji and Jinbei, Luffy and Brook and Chopper and Robin and Frankie. You got the whole gang. Also, I see this giant colorized like crab that's up in the top corner. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Disney because Moana bombed this weekend. Let's go. Love to hear that. Love to hear that another Disney live action bombed. Beautiful. I hope they kill off all the live actions. You guys know how I feel about Beauty and the Beast. Live action Beauty and the Beast, an abomination against humanity. Moana's looking to be the same way. Happy to see that Oda is celebrating the news with a giant crab in the background. Tamatoa hasn't always been this grand. All right, but it is time for a new One Piece chapter. Again, this is an absolutely lovely color spread. I also like seeing Sanji like reaching out to try to grab Nami, and Nami doesn't care. She's hugging onto the turtle. Very cute. I got Turtle in the background as well right there. Obi's favorite little place to sleep during the day. All right, let's get started. 1188, One Piece manga chapter 1188. Let's see. This one is titled, what the heck? This one is titled Vohu? V-O-H-U? I'm assuming that's going to end up being a name or something. Vohu. Hello, hello, come in. Hello. What? Who are you? Mu. I am Emu. Who art thou? Oh me, I'm Joy Boy. Okay. Who are they talking on? Den Den Mushi's all the way back when? What the heck is this? I'm Joy Boy. You're throwing this in first? Indeed. Joy Boy is long dead. Okay. Good way to start the chapter. Joy Boy is long dead. So why dost thou remind Mu of that time? You can see Luffy still right there. Great shot of Emu flying through the sky. Wings spread, Omen ring in the background. And you get wubba dubba dub. Is that true? Omen flames wrapping around his hand. And Luffy's like, how should I know? I think at this point, I understand you don't care, Luffy, but at this point, you really should ask, who is Joy Boy? Who is Nico? What's going on here? Like, because it's happened a lot now. You gotta be somewhat curious. I think at this point, his brain is just focused on beating Emu. I don't think he really cares at all. But he's like, come on. So you see Emu, okay, with a devil tail. You can see the little arrow devil tail sticking out of the back. Punching, whoa. That's a cool shot. Punching at Luffy. I thought he punched his head down. No, Luffy, swoop, Looney Tunes his head down to dodge it. And you can see one of the little Omen flames going, he dodged? Look out below us. Also love the design of these little Omen flames with the little fist erupting from the bottom of them. Now down, down, down. You can see it curving, trying to hit Luffy, and Luffy's going, As Emu, what in the world am I even looking at here? What is this? You can see the punch. You can see it curve. You see Luffy with the head still stretching down and it impacting on the back. And you get a giant scream from Luffy going, wah! As he's flopping his little legs in the bottom of the ground. And then, boom, another explosion from the impact. I do also think, I brought this up during last week's reaction as well. I do think it is very funny that we are having Luffy with these super ridiculous powers now fighting these super ridiculous like demon powers of emus. They're all kind of doing the same thing. These goofy little flames remind me of something you would see in Gear 5 anyway. So smacking him on down. Okay, let's see. And you get a giant circle. What is going on here? Burning Luffy to a crisp. You see a little poof on the top as you get that iconic little stance. Okay, interesting. What in the world? Okay. Whipping on over at him. You get the little whoosh symbol. Emu's already behind him. Teleporting, quick speed. Great shot there of Luffy from the front. Again, all burned to a crisp in his Gear 5 form. As Emu's going in to stab. But Emu notices something. You can see the little eyeball going the other way with the dash lines. And then tick, 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 tick. Da-doon. Okay, and just a bunch of hits going off at Emu. Emu trying to block him while spinning his thing. I was able to hit you before. Okay. It was a lucky strike. That's what it was. That's what it was, Luffy. Okay. Turn to the page on page 8, and you could get, okay, Emu pulling more of the omen out of his hands, and then dun, 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 with another explosion. Luffy sonicking his way out of there with his little rolly feet, saying that was a close one. And once again, he just keeps plucking these little omens, okay, out of his hand, and more of these little omen flame little dudes are flying all over the place. And Luffy's eyeballs are popping out going, they're chasing me. Are those supposed to be bombs? Gum Gum Jet Gatling. And again, you hear the little screams coming off of them. The little omen bombs. I love these little dudes. The design of like the one's jaw on the bottom and the little eyeballs sticking out. All right. Gum Gum Jet Gatling. Okay. Attacking a bunch of them. Gum Gum Genie. What the heck? Okay. Sure. Gum Gum Genie. Ho, 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 ho. I saw your fight with Loki, and I won't let his death be in vain. You can see Loki, Loki in the corner. I'm still alive, you moron. And Luffy just goofing off, looking like Robin Williams' genie, waving, going, oh, you're alive. Fantastic. What even is this design? He's got a giant, goofy, bulbous red nose. You can still see the little scar underneath it. I also love that his head wrap has like the little meat pin on it. What does Emu even think of this? What is happening? Gum Gum Genie. Okay. I'm still alive, you moron. Hey, look, you're still alive. Okay. And Loki's over there looking up, saying, crap. Move, Ragnar. And Ragnar, what are you even trying to do? What is Ragnar doing? I'm still alive, you moron. Loki, you're alive. Luffy in his genie form is waving. Okay, Emu's plucking more of the omen flames out of his palm. And then we've got Loki laying there saying, crap. It looks like Ragnar's doing chest compressions. I don't even know what's happening here. You see, move, Ragnar. Ragnar's dripping snot out of his nose. What the heck is this? Arabesque brick fist. Oh, Jinbei. Okay. Oh, this is very strange. They were going in a lot of directions I wasn't expecting. Gum Gum Genie into chest compression Ragnar into arabesque brick fist Jinbei. Okay. You see the explosion coming off of that? Fine. Jinbei. Luffy, do you want me to make sure that he's protected? Jinbei is going to protect Loki? Okay. Look, put some respect on his name. That's great. And he goes, yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jinbei. He's my pal. And you can see Loki lying there going, I ain't nobody's pal, you stupid pipsqueak. And Jinbei saying, all right, I can do that. You just focus on your fight. Bro, Luffy is really goofing off. Dude is against, like, the final antagonist of the series, and he's Mr. Lancer. Like, he's not even paying attention. That's Luffy? He's fighting the guy from before? Is he going to be all right? I mean, who is that guy anyway? The only people higher than the Knights of God are supposed to be the 5 elders, as far as I know. And Brooks giving a little bit of backstory to the rest of the crew. So maybe he's the Knights commander? I bet that's probably it. But Brook, ooh, great shot of Brook there. Good use of negative space there as well with the little flickers. Brook saying there's no more group shrouded in mystery than the world government itself. Okay. Brook, she's almost out. Huh? Princess Shuri. All right, and that's right, they're still melting the ice too. All kinds of things are going on right now. What is our next step? And what does one do with the frozen person? Well, let's see. When Robin and Luffy got frozen, wait, they've been frozen before? Yo, this is not the right time to be going into all this. You guys can catch up later. All right, focus on what you're doing now. You can see, if I was Emu, I would be so annoyed with all of these clowns. Like, what is this? Emu's going, Gunko, couldst thou not break that ice? A man with an afro calling Gunko Princess Shuri. Could it really be? Now, this is also wild, too. that the head of the world government knows Brooke. Brooke, I'll save it. I'll save it for the review, but I got something to say about that. I like that line. Couldst thou not break the ice? A man with an afro calling Gunko Princess Shuri. Could it really be? Also, I'm seeing this punch from Luffy in his genie form, and I was like, what else does this remind me of? It actually reminds me a lot of Old Man Hyo from Wano Country. Like the way that he built his face, where he's got the little like elf ears and the big bushy flame eyebrows and the big bulbous red nose. Like he looks like Old Man Hyo if Old Man Hyo was a genie. Which I wonder if that was intentional, considering the fact like Luffy trained with him in Wano Country. I don't know. Gum Gum caught you slipping bullets. Okay, cool. I don't think you really caught him slipping though. You got Emu just stopping it saying, were thou not watching earlier? And you see music coming out of the bell. Huh? Watching what happened to Loki, despite his size. And you can see once again the omens all over Luffy's little beard in his genie form. Okay. I do love the look of that panel though, where he slams down at him with the giant armament hockey genie fist. But again, he wasn't really caught slipping. All right, watching what happened to Loki despite his size. Stigma. Oh, and here we go. Here we go. Giant blade again. Stigma. And you see the pop coming right out of genie form. Attacking again. Developing more of these omens with his palm. And more of these little bad guys climbing over at Luffy. Okay. They're zooming all through the sky. Yahoo! And you see him land back down to the ground with a thud. All right. Dude, Emu is like aura maxing in this chapter. This is great. Flipping his giant thing around, popping off these little omens, developing more swords out of his omen ring. This is my blade of nothingness. Vohu. So that's where the title of the chapter comes from. Okay. Vohu. I am very curious what that means in Japanese. If that translates to like a pun or something, I'm sure somebody's going to tell me later on in the stream. But okay. And you got these little blossoms falling off of the tree. Ooh, he's like sucking the life out of the tree. That's interesting. The whole thing's turning into like a giant... Okay. Cool framing of that panel as well, where you see the tree full of life and then the dead tree cutting down with the flames coming off of the sword. Blade of Nothingness, Vohu. All right. Oh yeah, he's like killing the whole forest. What the heck? I'm curious if this like just sucks the life out of everything, or I mean, it just turns it to nothing, I'm assuming. But that is a wild looking shot. Because they're on the giant branch of one of the trees right now, and you can just see all the leaves are gone. The forest is completely dried out. But the view is clearer now. Same from up here. Now, of course, I know that thou art not Joy Boy. Dang. Dang. And you can see really rough reaction shot coming off of Luffy with the blood. And you can see the little omen flames flying. Ugh. Because Joy Boy was not this week. Okay. Joy Boy was not this week. To be continued. One Piece manga chapter 1188 end. Man. I mean, this makes sense. Considering how much Luffy was goofing off during this chapter, is it crazy that I'm glad this happens to him? I know that's probably not the best thing to say, but I think Luffy needed this. He kind of needed this right now. Because he was really just not looking at the situation they're in. And I understand he does not know who Emu is, but you should see how quickly he got rid of Loki and put him out of commission. Is this review time? Is it crazy to say that I feel like Loki put up a better fight than Gear 5 Luffy did? I almost feel like he did. Maybe it was just because of the way that those chapters were spread out. I'd have to go back and reread them. But I feel like the way that they were hyping up the Loki Emu stuff and the amount of chapters that we got with that, maybe it seems like it was longer because we went into the Brook flashback. But I almost feel like Loki did better against Emu. And I think a huge part of that is because he wasn't goofing off. He was like actually trying during this fight. I do think Luffy was also actually trying, but I think he's getting distracted by a lot of other stuff. He's getting distracted by the stuff with Loki, which is why he leaves Jinbei there. He was distracted by all the stuff with the ice, the stuff with Brook. There's a lot going on. And in the middle of all this, we get a new power-up, which I'm going to be honest, I love. That is like exactly the type of Luffy power-up that I like. Seeing him go full-on Disney, Genie from Aladdin, and again, the design of it being so reminiscent of Old Man Hyo, I adore that. But I almost feel like he was dealt with extremely quickly. And look, I understand Luffy usually in every single story arc like loses a bunch of times. We even talked about this, I believe, during the last chapter. When we got that giant spread of both of them, we saw, the Emu one, and then we got the Luffy one, and it was like their little fighting poster at the very ending. I really did think that was like setting up for a big fight. I'm almost wondering if this is just, especially if this is a nothingness sword that's draining the life out of stuff. Part of me is wondering if this is just going to like quickly end this fight, and then he's going to have to develop some type of new Gear 5 power to deal with it. Again, we're in a weird situation with Loki, not with Loki, with Emu, because of what we know when Emu first arrived in Elbaf. Right? When Emu first arrived in Elbaf, you had the Gorosei scared for him, being like, your body can't handle this. You're not ready for this right now. You should not be going to Elbaf. And yet he's been here, and he's obviously spending a lot of energy, popping little omens out of his palm every 2 seconds, which, by the way, I think that use of that power and that the blocking of him like plucking them out of his palm and shooting these little fireballs off, I think is going to become a pretty iconic way to do attacks. Because I don't feel like you see a lot of characters in a bunch of different anime. Maybe it's because I'm not as cultured in anime as a lot of other people, but at least in the shows that I watch and the things that I've read, I don't remember characters like plucking things out of their palms and shooting little bullets. So I feel like that's a pretty unique, distinct way to do attacks. And again, I'm really loving what they are doing with Emu's attacks, because as scary as this Vohu sword is, I still feel like all this stuff with the Omen and all these little talking bullet bomb things, they feel almost like evil Luffy powers. You know what I mean? Like they feel like if Luffy was bad, that these would be the types of things that he was using, because they are ridiculous. He's able to grow these giant flame swords, blow little bombs out of the sky. The bombs ever like redirecting the attacks and being almost rubbery to like hit him when his head slams down. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I liked this. This is a good chapter. This is a solid action chapter. But I'm surprised with how quickly it's over. But again, I also kind of feel like we needed this for what we have in the story. It is so funny, though, seeing how Elbaf has been developing and how much Oda is zagging with the story. Because this is why I don't do theory videos anymore, because it's like he just willy-nilly goes and changes things. The one thing I do feel happens pretty much every arc, which is probably why this is a pretty obvious thing that this was going to happen, is that Luffy usually loses about 3 times, right? Or he loses twice and then he usually wins the 3rd time. It's usually something around there. And I feel like this is the big loss, right? Because you get that moment where like they're fighting a little bit before that big scuffle with Loki, but this is like really where he is like entering into the fight. This is more of like a continuation of what we got previously. So this is like the definitive conclusion that I think we need for this Luffy fight to then go into the final version of the fight, which I still believe Emu is not going down during this arc. I don't see a world in which that happens with how strong he is, with how much they've thrown at him, and with that thing in place with him leaving Marijoa and being weak. I feel like he is going to have to, at some point, even if Luffy unlocks some type of new power, leave. And I think that's the best they can kind of hope for right now. That's a pretty devastating attack, though, at the end. I'm going to be so for real, though. That's like a really devastating attack from Emu, but that I don't want to say I feel nothing from that, because I don't feel nothing. I feel horrible for Luffy. But I also feel like we have seen so many situations in One Piece where it's literally just been this, where Luffy is, I mean, literally, that's like 1-to-1 what we got with Crocodile back in Alabasta, where they just like impale him on something, and he's going to be fine. A couple chapters after that. But again, not a complaint. It's just one of those things that I think the impact of that panel of him being impaled, I think would have meant a lot more to me if that hasn't happened at multiple points throughout the course of the series, you know. But I still think it was a good chapter. And again, I think this was something that needed to happen to move stuff along. I really am just surprised by the way they were handling this. Not Oda, obviously, he's writing it fine, but I mean the characters, which again, I think is a sign that he's doing a good job with this, because it's kind of like throwing me off a little bit. From literally that panel on page 10, from the genie transformation into the cut to Loki, Ragnar like doing the chest compressions, into Jinbei, into the genie goofing around, into like Nami and Usopp's little commentary, into the Brook line, into then Emu saying he kind of recognizes Brook, going into the Emu fight that eventually creates Stigma. It moves at a good pace, but again, it's like all over the place in terms of characters. I also appreciate, though, that Oda's throwing in a bunch of different attacks in this one. Not only do I really like the Gum Gum Genie thing, I also think it's funny that he's like throwing in these Gum Gum caught you slipping bullets and stuff like that. I think more of these funny named attacks from Luffy, I feel like we don't necessarily get them as much as we should. And so I love that. I think that's really cool, too. I also think it's smart that we didn't see any of Zoro and Sanji during this chapter as well. Because obviously that Conqueror's Haki thing with Sanji was super hype. I loved that chapter. And I liked the setup with Zoro and Summers. But I did think we kind of needed to see more of this. I think, honestly, this opening page as well, on page 2 and 3. The hello, come in. Hello, what's up? Who are you? I am Emu. Who art thou? I'm Joy Boy. I'm so curious what the context of that scene is. Like, if because we know Emu was obviously part of the Nerona family. And I'm curious if, like, Joy Boy back in the day was, like, trying to negotiate with them, or, like, if they were fully friends. I don't know. I'm so confused by that relationship, and I'm dying to find out more. I don't know if we're going to find out more anytime soon. I think this is, like, meant to be our nice little tease of, wait, what's going on with Joy Boy? I hope we do. I hope we find out more. But I also kind of feel like we don't necessarily need to. I think we can wait until, like, Final War arc if we're really going to get that flashback, considering how much we've already gotten in Elbaf. Yeah, cool choreography this chapter, though. A lot of the action. Flip him off to the side with the giant Stigma Blade. Blade of Nothingness Vohu. I think the way that he did that attack and showcasing, like, the life being sucked out of the trees was really neat. Yeah. Clax, by the way, in my live chat said, Vohu originally comes from the Hebrew meaning void, used in the original Hebrew of the Bible verse that said the earth was void and formless. Vohu is also available in Persian. Vohu Mana is an Amesha Spenta in Persian mythology. It's one of the 7 emanations of Ahura Mazda, facets of creation. Okay. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, cool. I mean, again, there's a lot of, like, biblical stuff that we've been seeing in this, so that's cool to see more of that with Vohu. I love the genie form. I really hope that we do see more of it in the future. I hope this isn't just like a one-off goofy kind of power, kind of similar to what we got with Tank Man with the Cracker fight. I just think the concept of Luffy turning into a genie is great. And I love the way that he made the design of the genie look. So I hope this isn't the last we see of it. But I do hope the next time that Luffy utilizes it, he's maybe a little more serious with the scene that he's in. Yeah, well, cool. All right. Joy Boy was not this week. There you go. 1188 chapter end. I feel like, honestly, I don't know. I don't really feel like there's much to discuss with this one. It's just a solid action chapter. I mean, again, it was cool. But the whole thing with the stab at the end, I feel like is a little telegraphed based on what we've seen in other arcs. Vohu was neat. Genie form was cool. Joy Boy conversation we discussed. That's kind of it. I don't know. I'm not really like, unless there's something else you guys want to talk about. I don't really think there's anything else that's like really standing out to me in this. We'll see. Actually, before I talk to chat, before we do all that, I do want to see what James did for the thumbnails this week. Also, I'm very happy that we are on break because, as many of you know, we've got the next Reverie happening next weekend. Supremely excited about that. We're going to be doing that on Saturday. It's going to be an all-day affair. I actually asked James this week to do a thumbnail for the Reverie and do a thumbnail for today's chapter. So I think there should be 2 thumbnails in the drive. If not, James, you're getting fired. So let's see. Let's see what James did. Also, yeah, except for the Brook thing, I feel like there wasn't much to say about this one. No, the Brook thing is also really cool. The fact that, like, he knows who Brook is neat. But also, I think that kind of makes sense considering what we saw with the Shuri situation just a couple chapters ago, you know? I don't know. I feel like Brook, to me, is consistently an MVP of some of these later arcs. He was an MVP in Whole Cake Island. I love seeing what Brook was doing there. I love what we've gotten with Brook in this arc. I know there's some One Piece fans out there that like aren't the biggest fan of Brook. Could never be me. I love Brook. I really do. I love Brook. All right, here we go. Thumbnail time. Let's get right into this. Let's see, where is this? James's thumbnail. Let me open this up to the other screen. Full template. Boom. Let's see what we got. Oh, here we go. Oh, let's start. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. What is this? It's like blank. We got Loki on the thumbnail. 1188. I want to see this one first. Oh, dude, look at this. For the Reverie, you got Big News Morgan's in the Discord call, Emu Sama, Queen Carrot, Gaimon in the back too. That's a nice little one. Oh, I love this. I told James I wanted Big News Morgan's in the thumbnail in a Discord call, and he nailed it. Absolutely nailed. Also, you left the perfect amount of room for me to write the Reverie text on the bottom. Well done, James. I'm liking the look of this. What I actually might even do, I love what he did with the art of like the Discord calls. What I might do, depending on who's going to be like the main people talking in each segment, I might even put like the faces of some of the other YouTubers in those calls. That is perfect, man. That is absolutely perfect. And again, it's been so long since the last time I hosted one of these Reveries. And I feel like Big News Morgan's has become such a huge part of the channel. Dude is like literally in the background of all my videos now. Just love it. Absolutely love it. Also, the funny thing is he always threatens to fire James, but he doesn't have anyone else lined up, so he'd be rehired immediately anyway. No, that's not true. I got lots of artists knocking on my door going, I want to do your thumbnails. And I go, I can't because I love James's work so much. But if you ever stepped out of line, I'll replace you. No, I love James, man. He's the best. Dude, this really is like an awesome Reverie thumbnail. I dig it. Let's see what you did for the chapter, though. Okay. Let's see. Open this one up. 1188. Bro! I love this. I love this. Dude did the VHS cover of Disney's Aladdin. Got Gum Gum Genie right over here. And instead of the magic lamp, he's got the Gum Gum fruit. Instead of Aladdin and Jasmine on the magic carpet, you got Loki and Ragnar. Which, by the way, very nice work, James. Going with the new official color scheme for Ragnar over here. And then you got Emu. Hold on, I gotta zoom it. Dude, this actually might be one of your like best thumbnails ever. This is awesome. Dude, look at the little emu as Jafar at the bottom. Just cursing at Gum Gum Genie. It's crazy considering how the chapter ends, right? Where obviously Emu's the winner coming out of this chapter. But dude, I love that. Dude, I love this. You got Loki as a happy Aladdin with Ragnar. Even like the little omen skulls and the fire on the carpet. Dude, you nailed this. You nailed this. Dude, you got the little scar on Genie's face, his big red nose. The Gum Gum. I love this, man. You nailed it. The design is perfect. I hope he actually looks like this in the anime. I hope they go full force Robin Williams with it. Told you you'd hate me? Bro, James, this is phenomenal. I don't know what you were talking about. This is so good. You thought I wasn't going to like this? Me, Mr. My first movie I ever saw in theaters was Disney's Aladdin? You thought I was going to hate this? You are out of your mind, bro. This is incredible. Also, you left like the perfect amount of room because I could put like the little thumbs up face in the corner or whatever. Dude, this is so good. Also, it is funny when you look at the new color scheme for Ragnar because it looks like the Electric Skrull Pokemon. I mean, I think now that we know the official color scheme of Ragnar is this white and blue color scheme, and knowing that Oda is a big Pokemon fan and he uses like snow and electric powers, I feel like he's probably meant to be based off Pachirisu, you know? James said, I knew you would like it, but I went absolutely insane with it. No, I love it. I think doing it fully unhinged and doing the VHS cover, I know I have the VHS here somewhere. I believe I brought it back from one of the many times I've gone back to Chicago. I know I have it. I know I have the DVD as well. But dude, this is awesome. Absolutely awesome. You nailed this, man. I also feel like you can make a killing with this. If you did a fake VHS cover sticker and you sold it at conventions, and in the Aladdin text you write One Piece and you literally put this on it, you are going to make a killing at conventions with this as a sticker. Especially if you do it where it looks like the old VHS box, and you do something where like the side that normally says Disney's Masterpieces says like Ichiro Oda's One Piece. Bro, I'm telling you, you're going to make a lot of money off of this, James. This is great. I genuinely really, really love this. This is like a top 5. This might actually be like one of my favorite thumbnails in all of Elbeth. This is up there with the all-time greats, man. Dude, I love this. I hope that people appreciate this. When they click on the video or they see it in their sub box, I hope they appreciate it because this is incredible. And you nailed this during a week in which you also did the Reverie thumbnail. Like, bro, you're doing so good. Glax just said, I'm looking at the comparison between this and the VHS cover right now, and he did absolutely nailed it. Hollow Everett said you could do this and also a VHS cover of Shirahoshi as the Little Mermaid. Dude, yeah, you could do a whole line of Disney VHS covers with One Piece characters, man. We're giving you free money. James, you should absolutely do this. If I see this for Beauty and the Beast one day, I'll be thrilled as it's my favorite. And you could do any number of things with Beauty and the Beast. I don't know, like, oh. You could do Beauty and the Beast cover with Kuma and with Ginny. And you could have little Chip be Bonnie. And the Chip would be the, oh, dude. The Chip would be the Jewel. You guys are cooking in the live chat, man. This is great. James also said I had a few RogersBase fans actually show up yesterday. Drawing Ragnar as Abu was absolutely wild. Also, I was thinking of selling it at a con, but it was absolutely miserable. Dude, yeah, Kuma as the Beast. You could also do Nami and Absalom as Beauty and the Beast. No, don't do Nami Absalom. I'm against that. No. Fully against that. Don't do that. Rob said, I really do want a whole line of James drawing One Piece characters on Disney movie covers. Dude, again, this is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Speaks to exactly, I literally even said in the chapter, did I not say that reminded me of like Robin Williams' Genie earlier in the chapter? Like when I was going through that is crazy, man. I love this. Well done. James, well done. You cooked this week. On both of these, you did an incredibly good job. Now, once again, reminder to the chat, the Reverie will be happening this upcoming Saturday. So 6 days from now, we're doing the Reverie. I think after this stream goes up, after the VOD goes up, I'll probably do a landing page for it so people can be made aware of it. This is awesome, dude. Well done. Yeah, both of them are absolutely great thumbnails this week. Well done. You should do Zoro as Tarzan. Remember Skypiea sliding down the vines? Oh, that would be cool. I want to know. Can you show me? Also, if anyone is in Miami today, please come to my table and visit Florida SuperCon. Yes, please. Go visit James's table. Tell him RogersBase sent you. We love to see that. Give James all the support in the world for doing these amazing thumbnails week in. Again, the fact that you cranked out 2 of these all-timers while you're at a convention, you're the GOAT, man. Absolutely the GOAT. We love to pick on you in the chat, but you already know you're fantastic, man. We love you, buddy. All right, let me open this back up. I want to read some super chats. Let me see, because I saw quite a few of them come in during that last chapter, and I want to see these. All right, super chats. Let's see, viewer activity. First off, I have to give a shout out to the new members. We have Reeser, Tats for Life, Ola Ezito, Michael Mendoza. Thank you very much for becoming members. Nakama. We've got Hollow Avarice saying, I got it actually. Oh, he's talking about the Vohu thing. Vohu is indeed Hebrew for void. It comes from tohu va vohu and is described as what the nothingness was before God created the world in Genesis. There you go. All right, good work, Hollow. Thank you for that. Also, Robert super chatted, Robert Summers 3540, super chatted and said, I really do feel like this was Emu's final attack. He won't be able to stay long after this, I think. Common thought is that kids get taken and then it moves the fight over to Mari Joa. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think this could be like a big blowout attack to really knock out Luffy. He used this opportunity to then leave. The kids get taken. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I could definitely see the way this happens. Also, though, crazy, your last name is Summers, Robert. I hope you're not a fan of Summers in One Piece. Thank you for the super chat, though. Appreciate it. We got another one from Rob Harley this week, who said, I want to give a shout out to Blue Box. One of my absolute favorite manga in Jump ended today on chapter 250. And the first Jump manga that I've read to not get axed, nor mess up or rush the ending. And I do feel like One Piece will make two. Hashtag in Oda, we trust. I definitely agree. I think the end of One Piece is going to be great. Again, I had this conversation with people actually at Evo who were just talking to me in general about One Piece and like whether or not I'm worried about the ending being rushed. And my answer I give every time is no. Because at the end of the day, no matter how much he decides to drag out the ending or if the ending ends up getting rushed, Oda has known what the end of One Piece is for years. So I think so long as he nails like those last couple chapters, it almost doesn't even really matter what happens in the lead up. If he ends up screwing some stuff up or certain things get rushed or passed over, I don't really think it's that big of a deal so long as he sticks to landing. If he sticks to landing and we get that nice solid ending that he's been thinking of for all these years, I think we're good. Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I'm happy for you, though, saying that Blue Box ended well. Blue Box is one that people have told me about from the old Manga of the Year streams, actually. People recommended I read Blue Box, and I just never really had an opportunity to fully read it. I read up to the amount of chapters that we needed to read for whatever that Manga of the Year stream was. But correct me if I'm wrong, Rob. I believe that was only maybe like 4 volumes in. I don't think it was that much by the time we did that. I think it was only like 20 or 25 chapters or so. I don't remember reading that much of it. And I'm going to be completely honest, I don't even remember like names of characters or plot points because it's been so long. But I've heard so many people talk about it, so I feel like maybe I should give it an opportunity. Rob said I actually can't remember. There you go. Hollow said I agree. Oda knows the ending and Shonen Jump is never going to kill their golden goose early. Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't think there's a world in which like One Piece's ending gets screwed up. Yeah. Stumpsville came through with a super chat and said, next chapter, I think we're going to hear, I don't know who you are, but I'll be the one that kills Mugiwara. Repel. Trust me. Hashtag kid saves Luffy. I will say, I do think it is funny that we've made it all the way through so much of Elbaf, and we have never come back to Kid and Killer at the bottom of the sea after Shanks obliterating them just outside of Elbaf. I really thought like going into Elbaf, that was something that was going to be touched on. We never really got to that. The one big thing, I think with where we are in Elbaf right now, that I truly thought when we were predicting what was going to happen here, I think everyone assumed that Loki was going to be a big part of it. But the one big thing I always thought was going to happen that didn't happen at all was I thought considering Elbaf is like this last big arc before we end up getting into Final War, I really thought Uruj was going to show up. And not that I like mind that he didn't, but I really thought with like all the ties to religion, all the stuff we were seeing with like the astral plane and like everything else we kind of knew about Elbaf and the idea of like multiple sun gods. To me, having the character that was a monk that has ties to Skypiea, that clearly has ties to here, and things with the Void Century, I felt like it would make a lot of sense to like fold him into the story. So I'm still honestly really surprised we didn't get a lot of that. But no, man, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for everything else that's coming here in Elbaf. I like all this stuff with Luffy's new forms. I like Emu taking him out. It was great. Yeah. What is this? Tech Zero super chatted and said, there has to be stakes in this, as you stated, Roger. Luffy definitely needed this. I don't think you were hating when you said that, especially considering where we're at in this story. Exactly, Tech. Exactly. It's not me saying like, oh, Luffy needed to be humbled in terms of like, I want to see Luffy suffer. It's for where we are in the story and for what we've seen in Elbaf so far and what we've seen Luffy do and like him goofing around so much during this, I feel like he needed to get this reality check to be like, Luffy, you gotta lock in. If you're actually fighting like the final villain, you gotta lock in. Because this is the kind of stuff isn't gonna work. And I think the goofiness Looney Tunes aspect of it, Oda's always said this. He doesn't want the fights to get too serious. But I even feel like once we get into the ending portion of the series, whether it's like Blackbeard with Emu's fruit or Emu himself or like all this other stuff, however it ends up going, I do feel like Luffy is going to need to be serious in whatever that final fight is, even if he's using these magical, like goofy kind of powers. I think like him utilizing his powers to make people smile in a dark time while also like locking in and actually taking out these characters would be a good mix for the story, you know? I do feel like Oda is saving that for when Emu returns to Morijoa. Yeah. I'm also surprised we didn't get more of the religions in Elbaf, right? Yeah. Hey, Nestog joined the membership program. Nakama. Thank you, Nestog. Appreciate that. We've got Rock and Afro super chatted and said, I just had to donate after how great this thumbnail was. Dude, I know. James knocked it out of the park this week. It was awesome. And Building Upwards said, since Emu is using a sword, does that make a Mihawk upscale? Since Emu is using a sword, is that a Mihawk upscale? No. No. You think Mihawk is the world's greatest swordsman above Emu? No. No, man. I don't think so. Look, I'm a Mihawk fan. I've said this multiple times before. No. I don't think it is a Mihawk upscale. We got Red Fox Cloud in here saying, do you think the eye on the back of Emu's hand on page 16, plus the dots and the lines around his body, reminds you a little bit of the floating eye thing on Eneru's space mural? You mean the Mother Flame stuff? Yeah, I think that's absolutely intentional. Yes. 110% yes. We've been saying this since Emu came here. Yes. I think the connections to like the Mother Flame and what we got set up during Egghead and him using Omen and Omen being, I think all of that is absolutely intentional. Yeah, no doubt about it. Because we wouldn't have touched on all of that during Egghead if we weren't eventually going to get more answers about it. Again, that was teased way back when. He's been thinking about this for a long time. Back when we got Eneru's cover story. And then we got it again once we got the mural inside the tree. So no, I 110% believe that is intentional. Yeah. Also, Clifford came through. $20 donation. Yo, thanks a lot, Clifford. Saying, I do also love Luffy's genie form. Fun fact, by the way, the original story of Aladdin is Middle Eastern and takes place in China. Luffy got a power in... he's going. I'll read the rest of this out the way you intended this, right? Luffy got some power in his corner, now some heavy ammunition in his camp. You got some punch, Pazam, Yahoo, and how. All you gotta do is rub that lamp, and I'll say, Mr. Luffy, sir, what will your pleasure be? Let me take your order, jot it down. You ain't never had a friend like me. Yo, thank you, Clifford. Appreciate that. Great super. I'm giving a heart on that super chat. That's my super chat of the day. That's beautiful. Love that. He's going to talking about, did you know like the history of the story of Aladdin, and then just goes into Friend Like Me lyrics. Great. And then finally Building Upwards super chats again at the ending saying, glad I could make you laugh with that bit with me as well. Yeah, overall, man, I think this is a really solid chapter. It's funny, like, for being a kind of short, action-packed chapter, and not really feeling like there was much to talk about, I do think we actually got some good discussion out of this one. This is good. Again, not every reaction needs to be like an hour and a half long stream. I feel like we pretty much touched on everything. Once again, dude, I have to give like the biggest of shout outs to James this week. I cannot get over how good this thumbnail was, man. Well done. And again, and not only this one, but this one as well. Look. This one is also just wonderful. Great chapter. Great art. Fun discussion. Love when we get a chapter like this. Again, we're going to be back in 2 weeks with another One Piece chapter. I will be, I think I could say this, I'm going to be in San Diego for that chapter. So We're probably going to get a banger because I'm going to be out of town. So we're probably going to get a pretty good chapter. Usually always happens when we're out of town. But I want to drop a little thing at the end of this. Since the last time that I did an out of town reaction, I have been seeing over the course of like my comment section and just like the general vibe in the Discord and all this other stuff, I've been seeing a lot of people say they really do not like the vertical streams. And I feel like the last few vertical streams, it's been kind of negligible between the horizontal and the vertical in a way that like it used to, I think, be really beneficial to have them. I actually now have a Streamer X that I have with my setup when I'm out of town now to be able to do the streams horizontal. So we could do them the same way we normally do them, even if we're out of town. So I'm going to test that out for the first time when I'm in San Diego and we react to the new One Piece chapter next week as well. Or it's next week. Because again, next week is going to be the Reverie, which again, I highly suggest you all tune into. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, hold on. We got another super chat. Wait a minute. We got another one coming in right at the end of the chapter. Hold on. Sylvan Omer says, what do you think of everyone being saved by Imu's timer running out? Either way, I think they just have Summers and Killingham left to deal with. Luffy recovering in the training arc for everyone with Elbaf and the Giants. I think Usopp would love that. I actually, you know what I think could happen? Because I've seen a lot of people complaining that we haven't even touched on this yet. I think, specifically considering the fact that like this chapter even opened up with this, I guess this is a big piece of discussion we should talk about. It has now been so many times that Luffy has been told he is Nika or Joy Boy or a sun god that I think if he is going to recover, if Imu leaves, we get the Summers and Killingham's fight on this layer of Elbaf. I think a great place for Luffy to recover would be the astral layer of Elbaf, which you haven't seen at all yet. Because my assumption is on the astral plane, astral layer of Elbaf, is when we're going to get a lot more information about like what the giants believe in and the sun god and all the other mythology that surrounds Elbaf. I kind of feel like that would be the place while Luffy is recovering to give him the information on like who Nika is, what the sun god is, who Joy Boy is. Because I don't see a world in which Luffy would even care to ask, you know? I really don't think there's a world in which Luffy, in any of these fights, would stop and be like, who is Nika? Who is Joy Boy? But if he's up in the astral plane recovering, and the giants give him this information, the same way that like Loki doled out the information when they were on the underground layer, I do kind of feel like that would be the opportunity to sort of let Luffy know what Nika is, who Joy Boy is, what's going on with the sun god, give him all this information, maybe give us like a good lore dump at the end of the arc. And I think could also be like a really good way to play on the idea of like at the end of a lot of these arcs, we get the big parties. That instead of like a party, it's more of like a recovery session, you know, that everybody's like putting like bandages on and licking their wounds. You know, Gunko's maybe freed by this point. I do think that would really be a great place to do some lore drops. And that would allow us to see that astral layer and give us information about all the stuff with the gods. And also give Luffy information about Joy Boy and the sun god. And then I also think could give Luffy the opportunity to maybe unlock more within himself. Because again, like Gear 5 is based around his imagination a lot of the time. It's like whatever Luffy can dream up, he can kind of do, is how Gear 5 works. So if Luffy knows the truth about Joy Boy and the sun god and Nika and all this kind of stuff, maybe Gunko even drops some lore on them. I think that would be really cool. Because once he's aware of it, he might be able to like infuse that into his own imagination to then make Gear 5 even stronger. And would be a good way to do it without him being like, I am who is, you know, I'm the chosen one. I'm the new sun god. I think if he did it in that situation, I think it'd be kind of lame. But I think if he's told about his history and then takes that information and infuses it with his own imagination into new Gear 5 abilities, I think that's cool. I would actually really like that. Yeah. Again, I like the direction the story is going. I think this is cool. I almost feel like we're playing Rebirth when Cloud was dropping all the tea on Sephiroth. Right. A little bit like that. Right. That they're like in the astral plane recovering, and then the giants are like we really should tell you what's going on with all of this, or who this person could potentially be. Here's all the stuff that was on the mural. Let's explain a lot of this. And they could do that in a way where it's not even in flashback, because we can get the full flashback once we get to Final War. But it's in a way that at least contextualizes it for Luffy. So he's not just like swinging wildly and becoming a genie and doing all this goofy stuff, you know? Great. That was great, though. I really had a fun time with this chapter. Thank you once again to everybody who just tuned in. I want to give also a quick shout out to my Twitch channel at the very end of all this. We're going to be going live on Twitch immediately after the end of the stream. And I'm going to be doing my reaction to the new Hunter x Hunter chapter that just dropped as well. So if you are interested at all in my reactions to the new Hunter x Hunter chapters, go on over to Twitch. I'm going to be starting momentarily. But for all you watching over on YouTube for One Piece, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Nakama! Take care!